Hi, I'm Reid Cramer. I direct our asset building program here at the New America Foundation, and we've just had an event highlighting Tim Noah's series in Slate on inequality. Ray Brescia was here with the event, and he's a law professor at Albany Law School, has written about inequality and the links to the financial crisis. So I wanted to get your highlights about and your perspective on the impact that we have between the recent financial crisis and inequality.
Sure. So my paper goes into the connections between income inequality and financial crises, and looks specifically at this most recent, the Great Recession, as we call it, and looks at how you see different impacts in different states, mostly in the areas of foreclosures and mortgage delinquencies. As income inequality is greater in certain states, we see higher foreclosure and delinquency rates in those states. And how do you connect the two? I believe that the connection is that with greater inequality, there is greater social distance, in that people see themselves as different from other people, and once you see yourself as different from another person, you take advantage of that person. And we see in states with greater income inequality, we have greater crime rates. We have most likely we have greater predatory lending as well. And so that's the connection I see, is that we had greater income inequality. It was different by state,
yeah.
And we see a connection between a state's income inequality and its delinquency and foreclosure
Yeah,
rate.
it's an interesting paper because it really looks at this geography of inequality and then links it to some of the issues of housing policy and some of the impact of the foreclosure crisis that's being experienced now. Particularly some communities are going to be very hard hit by the wave of foreclosures. Especially some minority communities that have been stabilized, where homeownership had risen in a number of years. What's your insights on some of the link between what we're finding in this geography?
Well, it's unbelievably tragic that in somewhere about in the late 90s, redlining, the practice of excluding certain communities from access to capital, access to credit, flipped to reverse redlining. So the same communities that had been excluded from access to capital became the target of predatory lenders, who went into those communities precisely because there were fewer legitimate lending opportunities for them, and then those folks had less of an experience with access to credit, and there also was actually wealth in those communities. Look at communities like Baltimore and Cleveland. African American middle class had homes. They had purchased homes years ago, sometimes intergenerational homes. They had equity, they had wealth, and it was that wealth that became a target for the predatory lenders. And we see a devastating impact that this financial crisis is having on those communities, as that wealth is being destroyed by the impact of predatory lending.
We often focus on the power of assets and the ability for asset holdings to help people move ahead in their social development and move forward in their lives, but it also has created an increasing amount of risk, especially when it was delivered irresponsibly in a predatory manner, and certainly has undermined a lot of families as well. Your paper's really interesting. It obviously raises a lot of questions going forward, and we're specifically going to look at some of the issues with housing and home ownership in the days ahead. So looking forward to continuing the conversation.
Great. Thanks for
your time.
Thank you.
Yeah.